through the winter wonderland of Switzerland by train. We travelled the most remote valleys, up the highest mountains, through fascinating landscapes, past people and their stories.
Ja, ich habe einen Alarm im Einsatz. Wo kann ich hier landen?
Thanks to countless tunnels and viaducts, this region in the heart of the Alps is a treasure trove for rail travellers. The view from the window promises nature, romance and pure adventure.
Jetzt gibt es einen kleinen Ruck, ich mache die Türen offen.
For more than 150 years, these railways have fascinated visitors with their traditions and technology and are lifelines for local people and their everyday lives in the winter wonderland of Switzerland. Davos in Graubünden is home to two of Switzerland's historic funicular railways. With a ride on the Schatzalp and the Parsenn, you can experience history on one hand and adventure on the other. Davos is still half asleep before 7 in the morning. Only at the Schatzalp Valley station do the lights come on so early. Daniel Riedo, Head of Engineering, is responsible for this morning's test drive.
Guten Morgen, Simon.
Dani, wie geht's?
Gut.
Schön, schön.
Gut. Alles klar?
Ja, danke. Schönes Heika.
Dann gehen wir bergwärts.
Gut, ja. Sonst
Okay.
gibt's nichts Spezielles?
Nein, alles hier.
Gut, in dem Fall. Schönes Tägli.
Danke, gleichfalls.
Daniel goes on board for the first trip of the day. It's the only one that has a conductor. Afterwards, the Schatzalp runs unmanned. Daniel Riedo checks the train's condition and the safety of the track. Riedo has been responsible for technology at the railway for around 8 years. He has been fascinated by large machines and funicular railways since childhood.
Ja, das ist jetzt eine Prüffahrt, die wir immer zuerst jeden Tag machen. Wir schauen, ob auf dem Gleis alles in Ordnung ist, die Rollen sauber drehen. Rechts haben wir einen Baumfalldraht, der zur Sicherung dient. Wenn ein Baum umfallen würde, dann würde die Anlage stillgesetzt werden. Das ist vor allem im Winter das Problem, wenn Schnee hängen bleibt, dass das zu schwer wird, dann könnte der Draht auch reißen. Der normale Tagesbetrieb, der ist jetzt bei uns sowieso etwas anders. Wir fahren unbegleitet. Wir haben einen Maschinisten oben am Berg und unten die Leute an der Kasse, die den ganzen Betrieb überwachen.
There are no safety-related incidents on the 700-metre journey. Everything runs like clockwork. Daniel Riedo can open the line for today's operations. Davos, the highest town in Europe. With just 12,000 year-round residents, in winter it transforms from a tranquil small town into a sophisticated sports paradise. And ever since the World Economic Forum was held here, the name Davos has become a brand. At 8 o'clock sharp, the gates of the Schatzalp Valley station open. Every 15 minutes, it takes passengers up to the historic hotel. Before they get started, however, they still have to load the goods. Without roads, the businesses on the mountain are dependent on rail transport for their daily supplies. The Schatzalp funicular starts in the middle of Davos Platz, 1,640 metres above sea level. It takes a total of 4 minutes to reach the mountaintop station, just a few steps from the legendary Hotel Schatzalp at 1,861 metres above sea level. The funicular has been reliably covering its route for 125 years and still retains all of its charm to this day. Inside the top station is the engine room of the railway. During operation, Daniel Riedo repeatedly checks the technology and equipment. Although the track is exposed to harsh conditions, especially in winter, it usually runs with the precision of Swiss clockwork. This has been the case since 1899, when it was built at the same time as the Schatzalp Sanatorium. Wealthy patients, most of whom suffered from tuberculosis, were transported as quickly as possible to the healing mountain air of the new Schatzalp Sanatorium. The former sanatorium no longer houses tuberculosis patients. With its magnificent view over Davos, it attracts affluent clientele from all over the world who come up here in search of that magic mountain feeling. After all, Thomas Mann did dedicate his famous novel to this place, which he came to know and appreciate in 1912. Klaus Bergermann is also a devoted Schatzalp fan. The retired teacher has studied the history of the Schatzalp in detail. He takes visitors on a journey through time on his guided tours of the historic hotel.
Hier sind wir jetzt auf Schatzalp. Ein eigenartiger Name. Hat nichts mit einem menschlichen Schatz zu tun, hat gar nichts zu tun mit einem Schatz, der hier vielleicht gefunden worden wäre. Die Alpen waren zum großen Teil privat. Und die wurden jetzt benannt nach dem Besitzer. Und diese Alp hier, die hat einem Jakob Schatz gehört. Und deswegen Schatzalp.
Mr. Schatz's alpine pasture was an ideal location for one of the first Davos sanatoriums. At the turn of the 19th and 20th centuries, tuberculosis was rampant throughout Europe. For a long time, mountain air, especially Swiss air, was regarded as the only cure and led to a veritable building boom. In just a few years, there were 26 sanatoriums in Davos. The sleepy mountain village became a world-renowned health resort. It was not until the 1930s that Davos discovered its potential as a winter sports resort. Thanks to English guests, skiing became established here too.
Und jetzt haben da einzelne Gäste angefangen mit diesem Herumrutschen auf Skiern und daraus ist dann der Skisport entstanden. Arthur Conan Doyle zum Beispiel, der englische Schriftsteller, der war auch wegen seiner Frau, die tuberkulosekrank war, ist er hier in Davos gewesen. Und hier hat er das Skifahren erlernt. Dank dieser Pioniere, dürfen wir schon sagen, ist Davos zum Sportort geworden. Das war für Davos wichtig.
Even for those who don't come to Davos with sporting ambitions, the area offers spectacular views in winter. With patience and a bit of luck, you can also spot native wildlife. For all those who are hungry after a day in the snow, the Schatzalp restaurant offers a rustic place to stop for a bite to eat, just a few steps from the top station.
Hallo, herzlich willkommen auf der Schatzalp. Kommt doch rein.
Schatzalp has been in the hands of women for generations. Founder Emma in the 1930s was followed by Betty, then Hedy. Today, Nicole is behind the bar.
Wir sind jetzt die 4. Generation, die hier auf der Schatzalp zu Hause ist und arbeitet. Es war ganz am Anfang ein Kaffeehaus. Da kamen die Gäste vom Sanatorium auf der Schatzalp zu uns hoch und haben Kaffee und Kuchen genossen. Ihr seid noch zufrieden?
Ja,
alles gut? Wunderbar, danke.
The legendary cakes of Schatzalp are still baked according to the recipes of Emma, Betty and Hedy.
Voilà, ein Rüebli kochen. Viel Vergnügen. Ja, irgendwie ist es ein Frauenhaus, darf man fast so sagen. Ja, die Energie geht zu den Frauen. Und so soll es vielleicht auch sein.
Only in the kitchen does a man call the shots. Tim, who grew up in Germany, is spending his first season here. His kitchen is already a hive of activity in the morning. As he does every day, he prepares the traditional pizzockel for the rush of guests at lunchtime. Pizzockel, known as pizzoccheri on the southern side of the Alps, are a type of rustic Spätzle and a popular dish in the Swiss mountains. At Schatzalp, they get their special colour from beetroot.
Und jetzt sieht man schon durch den rote Beete-Saft und das rote Beete-Pulver bekommen wir eine schöne, fast pinke Farbe.
The dough is beaten as for Spätzle and then scraped into the hot water.
Auf das Holzbrett geben, nicht zu viel.
It is then fried in butter at a high temperature.
Ja. Zockel drauf. Frisch geschnittener Schnittlauch dazu, für die Farbe und für den Geschmack. Und das ist unsere Pizzockel-Variante auf der Schatzalp.
Davos is also an El Dorado for sledging enthusiasts, up by rail and back down on a sled. Krishki Mathi is also taking this route today. The young carpenter built his own sled just yesterday. It's an original Davos sled that he wants to test for its roadworthiness. Behind the Hotel Schatzalp, one of the many legendary toboggan runs winds its way down into the valley. Sledding is something of a popular sport in Davos. Krishki also earns his keep by helping hotel guests to get going, before setting off down the fairy tale route into the valley himself. From the Magic Mountain, the route descends 2.8 kilometres into the valley via 18 hairpin bends. This is also the location of the Ardeuser carpentry workshop, where Davos sleds have been made by hand since 1928, following an old tradition. Good things take time. Making a single sled takes young carpenter Krischke a total of 7 working hours and involves around 1,000 steps. Traditionally, only solid ash wood from Switzerland is used for this.
Das ist eigentlich ein hartes Holz, aber ein sehr biegfähiges Holz. Das ist eigentlich wichtig, damit der Schlitten bei Unebenheiten sehr gut ausgleichen kann und Schläge gut auffangen kann und nicht gerade kaputt geht.
The Davos sled has a long but once forgotten history. Now, a new generation of young craftsmen, including Krischke Matthey, are determined to preserve this regional tradition. Their motto is to make one-of-a-kind pieces instead of mass-produced goods. Accordingly, a genuine Davos is no bargain. One sled will set you back more than $1,300. Everything on runners, rails or skis has always been welcome in Davos traffic. Cars have a harder time of it. Until 1925, there was even a general driving ban on cars in the district of Graubünden. Alternatives were correspondingly popular. Even back then, the snow-covered landscape could be enjoyed at a more leisurely pace on horseback. Even when the funicular railway to Parsenn was being built in the early 1930s, there were many more horses than cars in Davos. As pack animals, they transported thousands of kilograms of building materials along the route, which was cut into the mountain in 2 stages, up to the Weissflujok. The second funicular in Davos, after the Schatzalp capitalised on the boom in ski tourism and became an instant success. By 1936, the sleek red wagons were already transporting 235,000 passengers a year. On this early March morning, thick clouds dump their load of snow over the Parsenn track. The night was so cold that the tracks are iced over, so it's time to get to work. Pickaxes and drills are used to tackle the ice. Down at the Valley station, technical manager Benny Walder is in constant contact with the track team. The track is passable enough for Benny to prepare the snowplow down below. The special thing about this machine is that it doesn't actually plough, but blows.
Es ist ein umgekehrter Staubsauger. Wir saugen nicht den Schnee hinein, sondern wir möchten ihn wegblasen und deshalb blasen wir ihn raus in einem großen Luftstrom.
After attaching the plough to the driver's cab, we set off on the route. A few hundred metres further up, the workers are still hard at it. The ice in the gaps between the rails is stubborn and can only be removed by hand with great effort.
Das ist reine Handarbeit. Da haben wir so kleine Spezialschaufeln wie Pizzaschaufeln, wo wir den Schnee rausmachen. Wir haben mittlerweile aber auch Hilfsmittel. Wenn schon Eis drin ist, dann können wir mit einem Spitzhammer dieses Eis rausschlagen, so dass die Jungs das ein bisschen ringer haben.
Despite these tools, it remains a tough job. The Parsenn is not for the faint-hearted. The men have done their work for the time being. Now it's time for the snowplow to finish it off. The line is now ready for regular service, and the weather even seems to be improving. The valley station of the Parsenn funicular in Davos fills up quickly. It can transport up to 2,200 people per hour. Tony Sidler from Lucerne is at the wheel today. He drives the funicular out of passion, as he's actually already retired. Minimal waiting times and smooth operation are a given under his watch. The first section of the ascent runs through a tunnel under the city. Davos is just a few hundred metres from the Schatzalp. From here, the Parsenn funicular climbs up the same side of the valley. At the Hohenweg middle station, we change to the second funicular to continue up to the Weissflujok top station. From here, you have a magnificent view of the surrounding alpine peaks. Tony has been part of the funicular team for many winters and has never tired of the view or the work.
Das Wetter in der Natur draußen, man sieht Rehe zwischendurch, sehr interessant. Es macht einfach Spaß.
Soon, the train leaves the tree line behind at around 2,000 metres, and the journey continues quickly. Tony Sidler only rides as far as the middle station. There, he hands the passengers over to his colleague Tony Dobler for the remainder of the ascent. The Parsenn control room is also located here at the middle station. This is where most of the technology comes together. You can monitor the position of all the lifts on the track and regulate the speed. 36 kilometres per hour is the highest speed. Serena Meyer and her dog Emma are VIPs on the slopes of Davos. The duo are on an important mission. They regularly patrol the slopes to check their condition and ensure the safety of skiers. Their work is a constant up and down, up on the funicular and back down on skis. Now they're heading up to the top station. Quite a challenge awaits them there, a disaster response exercise. Golden Retriever Emma is an avalanche search dog. She attentively observes her handler's gestures and facial expressions. During the journey, they can both relax and enjoy the view. Tony Dobler is keeping an eye on the rails.
Wir sind an der Mittelstation am Höhenweg gestartet auf 2200 Meter. Und wir fahren jetzt hoch aufs Weißfluhjoch. Das ist knapp 2700 Meter. Also die Höhe setzt einem schon ein bisschen zu. Man wird sicher müde am Abend sein von diesem anstrengenden Tag. 7:15 Uhr ist Arbeitsbeginn und 17:15 Uhr ist Feierabend. Zwischen 30, 35 Mal rauf und gleich viel Mal runter.
A few hundred metres below the top station, the funicular railway passes the Swiss Federal Institute for Snow and Avalanche Research. This research station has been here for 80 years. Weather and snow measurements are carried out here every day. The Weißfluhjoch test field was the first snow laboratory in Switzerland. As the name suggests, snow is examined here, and in great detail.
Okay.
Physicist Matthias Bave and doctoral student Ossian Arms regularly conduct research on the Weißfluhjoch.
So, wir kommen 1- bis 3-mal in die Woche hier, um Schneeprofilen zu graben. So mit dem Bahn einfach ist es möglich, so oft hier zu kommen. Ja.
For such a snow profile, you first have to dig a hole right down to the bottom, as they want to examine all layers of the 3-metre deep snow cover. The research work up here is not just intellectually demanding.
Wir messen die gesamte Schneemenge, das es gibt, so das Gewicht von einer ganzen Spalte Schnee auf die ganze Profil. Wir messen die Dichte von dem Schnee, das ist sehr relevant. Die Temperatur, das wir können überprüfen, ob die Modelle stimmen oder nicht so gut stimmen. 185 moins 4.0. 180.
From this information, they can read how the snow is composed, how dense it is, and how much water it contains. This helps to make better forecasts about the risk of avalanches and to estimate how much water is stored in the form of snow in the Alps. The Institute on the Weißfluhjoch is not only the oldest research station in Switzerland, but also one of the oldest in the world. Research has been carried out up here since the 1930s. Surprisingly, little seems to have changed in the way it works. It's another 100 metres to the top station. Tony gets ready for the docking manoeuvre. Everyone rushes to the door because outside, a perfect white winter landscape is waiting to be tackled. As soon as she leaves the top station, Serena's phone beeps. It's an emergency alarm.
Ja, ich habe einen Lawinenalarm und im Einsatz. Wo kann ich hier landen? Also wo können Sie bei einem Joch, auf dem Joch, Weißfluhjoch? Auf der Skifahrbahn, da gehen wir auf. Jetzt ist gerade ein Lawinenalarm reingekommen in Klosters bei Sardaschka, wo wir aufgeboten sind. Und jetzt habe ich mal bestätigt, dass ich verfügbar wäre. Und jetzt entscheidet die Regazentrale, ob sie uns abholen oder ob sie jemanden haben, der näher dran ist.
Serena and Emma have to reach the nearest helicopter landing pad as quickly as possible.
Ja, wie komme ich dorthin? Ja, da am Restaurant. Restaurant. Ja.
Serena is visibly tense, and Emma immediately recognises the seriousness of the situation as soon as her work harness is put on. They have finally reached the helipad. An accident has occurred on the opposite side of the Parsenn Valley. 2 ski tourers are believed to have triggered several avalanches on a steep slope away from the pistes. For the buried victims, every minute counts. But Serena and Emma are condemned to wait on the Weissflujok. The air rescue controllers have long been in position to manage the landing of the helicopter. But instead of the helicopter, they receive a message.
Also sie haben die beiden Verschütte lokalisiert und es sind jetzt 2 Heliteams vor Ort mit medizinischer Unterstützung und somit, wie es jetzt aussieht, waren 2 verschüttet und wird es uns nicht mehr benötigen. Genau.
Despite the immediate rescue operation, the 2 touring skiers did not survive the avalanche in Klosters. Although forecasting methods are becoming increasingly accurate, avalanches here remain a deadly and unpredictable danger, which people have been fighting against since the mountains were conquered by tourists. For a long time, decommissioned mine launchers and rocket tubes from the Swiss Army were used to blast snow slabs and avalanches.
Bis vor einigen Jahren hat man das noch so gemacht mit den entweder Minenwerfer oder mit dem Raketenrohr von der Schweizer Armee, bis die Schweizer Armee irgendwann gesagt hat, das gibt's nicht mehr. Oder die Armee brauchte auch das nicht mehr. Das konnte man einfach noch lange gebrauchen für die Lawinensicherung.
Peter Müller is head of Piste Rescue on the Parsenn. The paramedics' headquarters are right next to the top station. Up here, he and a team of 15 people are responsible for safety on 120 kilometres of slopes. When time allows, Peter Müller loves to rummage in the cupboards at the top station.
Das ist jetzt ein Teil von dem ganzen Archiv, also das ist nur ein kleiner Teil.
All kinds of finds from the eventful past come to light here.
Unfällen von Suchaktionen oder Protokolle von den verschiedenen Saisons. Alte Filmrollen hat es da noch drin von früheren Magnetfilmen oder Super 8 Filmen, die sind da drin noch. Und das sind alles die Originalfilmrollen von damals. Und das sind jetzt alles so Aufnahmen von Lawinen oder von Lawinenübungen. Rettungseinsatz mit dem Rettungsmaterial aus früherer Zeit da. Also da ist ein Patrouilleur aus früheren Jahren. Vermutlich ist er irgendwo auf dem Weg zu einem Lawinenunfall.
Back then, the shells still had to be packed by hand, and avalanches were often triggered at very short distances. It was not without danger for the blasters of that time.
Heute haben wir zum großen Teil automatische Sprenganlagen, Sprengmasten, die können über den Computer oder vom Handy ausgelöst werden, kann man Code eingeben und dann sind dann in der Regel 12 Ladungen drin und dann kann man die so auslösen.
Marked slopes are only opened once the avalanche danger has been averted and the safety of the winter sports enthusiasts is guaranteed. As in Klosters, the vast majority of avalanches occur on unsecured slopes, which are always entered at one's own risk. Benny Walder is approaching the top station. As head of technology, he's responsible for the safety of all means of transportation here on the Parsenn. At 2,700 metres altitude, the Weissflujok is a transport hub. In addition to the funicular railway, chairlifts and 2 cable cars arrive here from different directions. To prepare for emergencies, Benny is setting up an abseiling exercise on one of the cable cars today. He also needs Serena and Emma, who are getting ready for their last mission after a long day on the slopes. They are practicing the emergency evacuation of a gondola. Serena and Emma play the passengers.
Wir machen die Übung gerade da an der Schieferbahn, an der Bergstation. Wir statten uns aus mit der Ausrüstung. Der Bodenmann ist Johannes und ich gehe aufs Seil. Serena, du bist unser Figurant mit deinem Hund und ihr dürft anschließend in die Gondel einsteigen und wir fahren mit euch raus auf die Position und dann werden wir die Übung beginnen.
Benny Walder, a trained rope specialist, takes on the role of the rescuing paramedic. A special safety harness ensures that the exercise doesn't turn into an emergency. While Benny dons his gear, Serena and Emma move forward with the gondola to their fake breakdown position. It's a first for Emma today. She has never abseiled from a gondola at a height of 30 metres before. But even in this situation, she remains completely cool. As soon as the gondola is in position, Benny climbs the rope. His colleague Johannes secures him from the ground.
Pipi, ist alles gut, gell?
Nothing escapes Emma's watchful eye.
Oh, Benny.
Emma finds Benny's tightrope act a bit strange.
Alles klar bei euch?
Alles klar.
Gut. Wir gehen gerade zu euch auf, gell? Jetzt gibt es einen kleinen Ruck, wir machen die Türen offen. Wir gehen das Spältchen offen. Und nachher komme ich zu euch.
Tipptopp.
Nicht verschrecken, gell? Achtung, wir machen die Türen offen. Komme ich aber zu euch. Wir haben noch Platz. Und die Türen wieder zumachen. Macht niemand mehr aus. Soll ich dir einmal die Windel anlegen?
Ja.
Diaper is the colloquial term for the harness Serena has to put on for abseiling.
Genau aufstehen. Und dann kannst du gerade so sitzen. Wunderbar. Zweimal und 3. Gut. Und jetzt kommst du drauf.
Emma also gets a fancy abseiling harness.
Und so haben wir alles benannt. Jetzt nehmen wir den Karabiner, alles ineinander einfahren. Und so hängt sie nachher.
Okay.
Will Emma lose her nerve this time?
So, jetzt kann ich erst auf die Satz
Not even 30 metres of air under her paws can upset her.
Tipptopp.
The golden retriever also passes this challenge with flying colours.
Super.
Kontakt!
Gut. Super, Emma.
Emma is now off work. As a reward, she can indulge in her favourite hobby, whizzing down the slopes into the valley at breakneck speed. The Parsenn arrives one last time at the Weissflujok and invites those who have already lost the strength for a descent on skis to hop on. After 9 hours up and down, the train is now also off duty. Out the back of the top station, Patrick Kessler's shift is just beginning. The snowcat driver can only do his job when the slopes are empty. The 8-ton red monster is first refuelled. Patrick regularly puts his vehicle through its paces. Out in the snow, ice and wind, he depends on the reliability of his van. The ski area up here is extensive, so a large number of snowcat drivers are assigned to the different slopes. The operations manager briefs his team. It's off to the slopes at 5 p.m. sharp. Like many of the drivers, Patrick has also trained as an agricultural machinery mechanic. The waiting list for the job is long. The work is popular, although it often lasts late into the night. The bright red convoy offers an impressive spectacle at the end of the runway. A snowcat ballet is performed here every evening against the perfect backdrop of the Grisons Alps. There are usually no spectators left at this time of day. A small group of people gather at the top station. They have deliberately missed the last lift because they've booked a special adventure. First, everyone has to put on their snowshoes, which outdoor guide Jus Keller has brought for them.
Schneeschuhe. Es gibt nur gross und klein. Es gibt nicht links und rechts, müsst ihr nicht schauen. Orange sind gross, 42 und grösser, die blauen 41 und kleiner.
Jus will lead the group safely to their camp for the night. It's about a 10-minute snowshoe walk from the back of the mountaintop station, hidden under a thick white blanket. Catacombs made of ice and snow, which are rebuilt every year at the start of winter. There are 10 rooms on 350 square metres, each designed according to a different theme. Heroes from Star Wars or Lord of the Rings fight on the walls of the rooms.
Da im Iglu mit der Temperatur habt ihr euch vielleicht gefragt, hier ist ziemlich konstant 0 Grad. Der wärmste Ort im Iglu ist der Kühlschrank in der Küche. Tönt komisch, ist aber so. Weil die Cola und das Bier, alles das, was kein Alkohol hat, würde gefrieren.
The aim is also to prevent guests from freezing. That's why all igloo rooms are equipped with thermal mats and expedition sleeping bags. This guarantees cosy warmth, down to minus 40 degrees. What looks like crystal is actually carved from ice. Every year, 5 tonnes of it are produced in a factory especially for the igloo village and transported up the mountain to present visitors with works of art that are as flawless as they are ephemeral.
Wir haben auch viel Stromkabel verbuddelt. Das Ganze wird ganz am Schluss gemacht. Wenn alles drin ist, die ganzen Tische, die ganzen Betten fix fertig ist, dann nehmen wir die Kettensäge, machen Schlitze im Boden und in der Wand und dann verlegen wir die Kabel und dann mit Schnee können wir es wieder verputzen und gut ist.
Das ist mir schon so passiert. Okay.
If you book an overnight stay in an igloo hotel, you'll also be treated to a typical Swiss welcome dinner. Fondue is almost an unwritten law in the Swiss mountains.
Danke schön. Danke. Gute.
Zum Wohl.
Danke.
Guten Appetit.
Danke.
A belly full of cheese is sure to keep you warm all night long.
Gute Nacht.
The shift ends late at night for Patrick Kessler and his colleagues, only once all the slopes are perfectly groomed for the next day. Out of sight of the snowcat drivers, there is a not quite all-evening rendezvous today. A group of daredevils have arranged to go on a moonlight cruise. It's not always a pleasure, but the evening atmosphere in the Davos Mountains is a temptation that you don't always want to resist.